imagine a person has or has not committed a crime, but people misunderstand the story and then they kill them. If we don't put them in trial, how can we know more deeply about the crime and will not never discover the truth? As the first speaker from the affirmative team, we strongly agree with the motion that we should able to put people on trial if they are accused of crime after their death. I would like to define some words in the motion first. Accused of someone of a crime means that to say publicly or officially that someone has done something illegal. On trial means that being tried in a court of law. Now I would like to talk about our team case. I will talk about it might uncover the important historical event, truth and or evidence. Second speaker will talk about it will clear a name for the victim family and give justice. Finally, the third speaker from our team will summarize our team case. To my argument, if we are able to put people on trial, if they are accused of crime after their death, it might uncover historical truth or evidence. All of the crime have its secret. Government secrecy are often conceal significant historical events and this decision because they don't want other people to know. Yet, for a more realistic example, in Pentagon paper in 1971, U.S. Senate investigation admission has been leaked, and the information inside was the war between USA and Vietnam. After that, the people in America were very angry about the government because they lied to them, and they are angry because the government are scared to show that the truth and scared to say that the USA has lost in the war and Vietnam won. And why is it important to know the truth? Because when we know the thing that we are not supposed to do, we will view the world differently. Like, why do some Vietnamese people hate America so much? Why, in another situation, why do they hate the victim so much and not the criminal? And before I end my speech, I would like to give some rebuttal to my opponent. The opponent might say that if they give justice for the victim family, that will be nothing because the victim are already dead. I agree, but they are already give the justice for the family. Maybe the relative will know that the crime was not done by the victim, and they will try to find the criminal after that. With all of the reason and evidence above, I firmly believe that this stands on affirmative side. Thank you.
Good morning, parents, judges, and my fellow debaters. I'm the first speaker from the negative teams, and we strongly agree with the motion that we shouldn't put people on trial after their death. First, I would like to redefine the motions. What are the trial of crime that after the death? So, these are called the posthumous trial. It is a trial that held by the defendants, an individual that was sued by accusing a crime in the court. Posthumous trial could be held in a variety of reasons: legal crimes, political crimes, and so on. First, I would like to rebuttal the previous speaker. In the previous speech, the previous speaker have claimed that if we don't put them into trial, we couldn't find the truth. But let me remind you, the defendant are already dead, and the motion are putting the defendants into the trial. So how could we find the truth if the defendant are the main sources and they are gone? How could we find the sources for the court? And for the second example of the previous speaker, she stated that I would like to rebuttal that if the governments want to hide the secret, they should have not allowed the trial to be continued. How can the secret info could be leaked if they want to continue the trials? Now I would like to start about my argument. First one, I would like to talk about the political manipulations. Many posthumous trials, the trial of the defendant after their death, were served with a political purpose. The legal system can become a tool for political fractions rather than a court for justice. For this, I would like to give the example of Pope Formosus. He was dead before the trial. He died 9th month before the trials took place. And also, the trials are expensive as we have to hire a lawyer, and also the defendants are dead. So the direct source, it is gone and it is very hard to trace. Now I would like to outline my team's argument. My second speaker will talk about uphold justice, and my last speaker will talk about the expensive of this and also summarize the point. So in conclusion, this kind of trials usually involve complex and legal terms, and that is why we strongly disagree that we should be putting a defendants on trial of crime after their death. That rests of my case.
Good morning, parents, judges, and fellow debaters. My name is Tyra, and I'm the second speaker for the affirmative team, and I strongly believe that we should still able to put people on trial if they are accused of crime after their death. So firstly, before I start my speech, I would like to rebuttal one of the first speaker from the negative team point. So he claimed that we can't find the evidence of the case because the defendant already dead. I disagree with this point because every evidence is everywhere, like people going on the streets or their family members. Everything can be the evidence. So now I will be talking about the importance of proving someone that is guilty so they can't erase their name if they have committed crime. So imagine that somebody have killed you and then they accidentally suicide. And you can't do you feel being disrespectful because you can't put them on trial? So that is why we should prove that they're guilty by putting them on trial. It is important that other people know what really happened in the case so that their family member can feel better while they are depressed. We cannot leave the case there if people that is guilty already pass away. We can still tell the family members to pay for it. Humans should also respect the death of people. We can't just erase all of the crime, even if they are guilty or not. Trial after somebody's death that is accused of crimes is very important. If they're not guilty, it is crucial that people know the truth. We need to respect the history. It must be accurate. So in my summary, me and my team strongly believe that we should still able to put people on trial if they are accused after their death. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Tyra. 1 phút dành cho bạn tiếp theo, chuẩn bị.
Dear adjudicators and fellow debaters, I'm the second speaker of the negative team, and I would like to rebut the previous speaker of the affirmative team. When you say evidence is everywhere, how can you be so sure that the police didn't change the case file? There didn't happen any bribery, or the evidence is lost through times, like the hairs, the footprint, fingerprint can be lost through time. And when you tell the family to pay the price, which family are you talking about? The suspect family or what? Why do they need to pay the price? Because the one committing the crime and carrying out the sentence is a suspect. It is not very valuable. And when you say about respect the history, In isolation, it can't be correct. But when you look further, there's like the World War II, the massacre of the Uganda people. This event and history part would never be forgotten because the people still live on to tell the tales, and it is recorded on the internet already. And let's say there's a person named Alice who has a terminal illness and knows she only has a few months left to live. Alice really hates Bob, and she decides to make a box loaded with explosive charges, and it would trigger when it open. A real life example for this can be Gary Poches. He was an American man who was known for publicly killing Jeffrey Doggett, a child molester. When we talk about this type of crime or stuff, people already know that death is knocking their door. They are in despair. They have nothing left to lose or love, so they just go for it. Imagine a country whose there's an absurd amount of people who would do this, who like they are knowing they are already dead and they want to like commit vengeance, revenge, things like that. If that's happened, where's the law, and what is the law even means? Your justice is different, my justice is different, but I never agreeing to kill somebody else's life if it is personal reason. And throughoutly there are hundreds of cases of international terrorism acts, thousands of cases of murders, drowning, accidents. When the investigator, the FBI, the local police have to deal with these cases every day, there isn't a reasonable amount of time to really spend on this trial, the trial of the death. Like a prime example is FBI agency and psychologist John E. Douglas, which his co-worker gave him the name Playboy because he never say no to a case, which lead to his condition later on, where he got rushed to the hospital when having a 41 degrees Celsius ill 220 heartbeat per second, where the doctor, when viewing his computer axial tomography, his doctor said that, by which I mean his brain is being fried alive. And he also write in the book, the agency write that he walked through the police academy 150 days continuously for years and presented his PowerPoint for an estimated 125 times, almost glued it to his brain. So there isn't really any reasonable of time to spend on the case of the death. And when we talk about the case of the death, wouldn't it be like from 10-15 years ago, where like the investigators could really forgot some of the evidence which could lead to incorrect in the case, or things like that could have happened. And so I rest my case.
Dạ, cảm ơn em rất nhiều.
Greetings, adjudicators, my fellow debaters, and the audience. I'm the last speaker of the affirmative side, and my team strongly stands with the motion that we should still be able to put people on trials, even if they are accused of crimes, even after their death. Firstly, I would like to rebuttal the second speaker of the negative side, that he said that you can't find evidence everywhere, but you can find evidence by asking from the locals and from the security cameras outside of the local places. You can also track them by using their last location from their phones, their fingerprints and footprints. Now, going to my arguments, when we still go to trial, even if the person was dead, the criminal will still be punished, even if they're deaf. This will be still can be shown as an act of justice for the victims and their families. When the victims and families loved one was gone, the families will be in a depressed state. When these trials were still given, the family and the victim's case will be recognizable, and this will help them. And the harm done was so real and significant, which can help the victims and family recover from this state. There were some cases that victim's loved one was murdered, but the killer was dead. But one of the notable ones was where Pope, the case in 837 AD, where his loved one was murdered, but the killer was assumed dead. When he brought this case to court, even though he won, the murderer was dead, so he wasn't allowed to be punished. But he still felt justice. But the case was still recognizable around the world, so he still recovered from this case. Now, I would like to summarize my team's debate. Firstly, the first speaker said that when this will uncover the historical truth and the evidence of events. And why is it important to know the truth? Because government secrecy are often conceals significant historical events and decisions, and it is important to know the truth because they are viewed the world different, and know why they do this or that. The victim's family might know the secret, but scared to share, or even to share it to their friends or to their friends or the locals. The second speaker said that the importance of proving somebody guilty or not, they can't erase their crime, or people are innocent. They would be treated the way. So this will be all for my speech. So I'll rest my team's case.
Dear adjudicators and fellow debaters, I'm the third speaker of the negative team and also the final speaker of this debate. And we strongly believe that we should not prosecute people or put them into trial if they have already passed away. So I want to first pose some rebuttals to the opposing team. The opposing team says that although a case could be lost for a long time, but there could be footage that can be restored from cameras or from locals, from witnesses. But let me ask you something. The validity of that evidence is the problem that we are discussing. What if the CCTV camera footage expired and you cannot recover it, or it got intercepted and the CCTV and the footage is lost? Or what if the witness failed to describe the suspect or failed to recall the memories? Or what if there are evidence but are hidden away due to corruption and bribery? So it is basically hard to ensure the validity and the accuracy of the evidence to restore justice for the victims. Now I will start by posing my arguments and summarize my team's debate. I want to talk about the problem about cost. If you want to sue somebody, you need to pay for a lawyer and you have to pay for trial. A trial usually have two parties. For a criminal case, it will be a prosecutor and a defendant, while for a civil case, it will be a plaintiff and a defendant. Now, what if the defendant is gone? Now we need a person to represent the defendant. But although we can find somebody to represent, we don't we are not able to restore the point of view from the defendant. And what if the defendant doesn't have any member of their family? So who is going to present themselves to replace the actual defendant? So that makes a trial of a dead person very unique. Makes it, and it could be expensive and not affordable for most families to do it. And we also have to talk about lawyers. We have to talk about juries. We cannot ensure that we have the manpower and required to do these trials that involve dead people. We still have other trials to prosecute. There could be even more serious. There could be serious crimes that are waiting to be justified. And allowing trials that involve dead people just delaying the process of justifying other cases. Now I want to summarize my team's points. The first speaker told us about sometimes the law system could get overloaded and overworked, and there are no space for these trials. And when trials are long, now I rest my case.
I give a comment about this presentation. Yeah, for the event, you mentioned about the justice. So this is kind of a key point need to discuss about need to touching about this topic is justice. So this thing we will be saying about is the expense, and then for the need to, I guess Steve said that is for the manpower. We need to more focus on for the more serious crimes. We need to judging for that kinds of thing first. Is talking about the reality, talking about for the practical, and then talking about the efficiency of judgment. And these teams need to talking. It's not many things to talking, just for the justice and how this justice is can affect for our society, how this policy can affect for our society to make more contribute to our society to make the better world. So this is concept we need to explain about the chain reaction. For if we making this policy, is then criminal will not get they will not do the crime, because if they know it's even they are dying, and then they will judge by them. So if they concerned about the reputation or even remain of their family, and they should not do like this. That means that it will improve, and that we're increasing for the morality of humanity. So how can affect this improvement of morality, and how can affect this policy for our society? You can giving some example and statistic, and then can giving some more elaborate idea to more focusing on that kinds of things better. And Steve, Steve, and then when your speech is much better for the compared to last time, this speech is much better because of a clarity. So feels like it's this kinds of grouping. I feel like it's organizing is much better than before. First is accuracy, and talking about the expense, and then talking about the efficiency, because we should spending our money and then the time and manpower to the other things, not wasting for already finishing that is cases. So you already touching for the more crucial point and essential point to talking about this for the negative team. So best speaker of this debate is Steve. Okay.
So the first thing that I noticed from all of the speakers is the fact that you guys always looking at the script while you debate. Debate is not about reading from a script. Debating is more like the fact that you understand the point that you are illustrating and you saying in for the audiences. That's what matters. Is you guys are just coming up and starting to reading the script, which is okay, but it shows that you are vulnerable. You are not confident enough in order to debate against the oppositional team. Next is about your contention. Both of the teams have misunderstood quite a bit about this motion. The motion should be focused on about justification and the morality of this one. You guys haven't mentioned the fact that if you put a dead person on trial, would that offend that person? You haven't even mentioned about it. The justice, you guys misdirect. You kind of just jab it a little bit. You haven't actually comes to the point and clarify it. So both teams just jabbing against each other without an actual direction. And the other team recklessly just trying to dodge it or just trying to counter it, but it's unnecessarily. So for the best speaker of the affirmative team, this one I will give it to Wendy, because at least she has a straight evidence. She haven't read much from the script, which is a great thing, and also the fact that she using USA versus Vietnam, which is quite a great example. However, Steve is the best speaker for the negative team. The way he clarifies his point, the way he strengthened his argument with the evidences, and the way he using real life evidences to increase the relativity between society and between on debate showcase. So yeah, that's all. So the winning team will be the negative team. Thank you.